Hi guys, and welcome to my October TBR. This is gonna be another really mood ready month for me, so I've sort of already gone through my TBR shelves and filtered out the books that I'm hoping to get to. This is very ambitious, probably overly so I will be really surprised if I actually get to all of these, but you know, set high goals for yourself, guys. You can do it. Starting off with my decidedly least spooky book for this month, that is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This is going to be a buddy read with my best friend Stephanie, who I've featured heavily on this channel. She also picked up this book a few months ago, and we've talked about reading it together. We previously buddy read the Poppy War together and had a really fun time doing that, so really looking forward to another buddy read with her. She is a great person to have book discussions with, and I'm really so excited. I've heard great things about this book, and I'm really excited to see what the hype with Elizabeth Lim is all about. Diving into the creepier reads, I'm hoping to get to Hex Life this month, which is a short story collection all about witches. I don't know too many of the authors. The one right on the front that I recognize is Theodora Goss, who actually is the author of another book I have in my TBR pile for this month. So I'm really excited. I love witches. They're probably my sort of favorite Halloween-y kind of topic. And I just think there's so many cool ways to approach witchcraft and witches in general, so I'm really curious to see how all of these authors kind of do it and make it their own thing, and I think this is just going to be the perfect short story collection for this month, and I'm so excited to get to this. Next up we have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This is a Beauty and the Beast / Red Riding Hood retelling, I believe. The front gives me Red Riding Hood vibes, but I've heard it is more of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This follows a story about a young woman who is the second-born daughter in line for the throne, and the firstborn daughter is groomed to rule, while the second-born daughter is given to the wolf, who is this scary figure, I believe, and we have some haunted woods, but the wolf isn't what he seems, and again, he is the beastly character in this, I believe. I'm not quite sure how much of a fantasy romance this is, the balance of the romance compared to the fantasy elements. I have heard there's quite a good deal of politics involved, which I think is really interesting. I've previously really enjoyed more political sort of fantasy stories like The Cruel Prince, so I'm really excited to get to this one. I have heard sort of mixed things, but I just feel like the atmosphere for this this story is going to be the perfect October read, and I'll pretty much read anything with creepy woods in it. I just think that's such a fun setting, so great fall read, I'm hoping, and very excited to read this one. This next one's more of a paranormal murder mystery, which I'm really excited about, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, and that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I will always mix up this title with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but that's fine. It gives me And Then There Were None vibes, kind of, from Agatha Christie. There's it's an isolated sort of group of people, and I'm just gonna read the back actually because it's pretty short. It says, Evelyn Hardcastle will die every day until Aidan Bishop can identify her killer and break the cycle. But every time the day begins again, Aidan wakes up in the body of a different guest, and some of his hosts are more helpful than others. So there's a Groundhog Day element to this as well, but he's inhabiting a different person each time. So he's sort of getting a different perspective on the night of the murder each day, and I just think that's so interesting. It's such a fun way to unravel a murder mystery, so I'm really excited to read this one. I don't know much about it beyond that sort of basic concept, but I just think it's so cool, and I'm really excited to get to this, and I hope this is... I like the cover of this a lot too, and this gives me good October vibes, so I'm excited. It also wouldn't be October without a little bit of vampires thrown into the mix, so I'm hoping to get to The Beautiful by Renee Audier this month. All I really know about this is that it takes place in New Orleans. It's a historical fiction, I believe, 1872, and there are vampires, but it's not overtly vampires. I've heard that some people have been disappointed with sort of the subtlety of the vampires in this book, but I think like if it's done right, it could still be a beautiful story. So I'm really excited. I've heard great things about Renee Audier's writing, so I'm really hoping to get to this. This is actually an art copy that I found in a little free library a few months ago. And if I like this one, I will definitely pick up its sequel at some point. And I'm chasing like a good vampire story. I was really into Twilight back in the day, but I'm kind of hoping for something a little creepier now, so I'm hoping this fits the bill. Next up, we have The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, and this just sounds so cool. This story follows Mary Jekyll, who is the daughter of Dr. Jekyll, and I believe her father goes missing, and something about a man named Edward Hyde may have had something to do with it. And so this story, I think in general, like this series follows young women who are the daughters or the experiments of these sort of famous mad scientists. And I just think that's such a fun topic. It's like a feminist lean on sort of like these very classic gothic-y like stories, and it just sounds so good. I've also heard that the audiobook for this series is really good as well, so I'm hoping to maybe get that from my library this month so I can listen to it when I'm driving. And yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Pretty much everyone that I follow here on BookTube really enjoys this story, so I'm really excited. There's also Sherlock Holmes involved, and I think he might be a love interest. Not sure, but very curious. So this is like a less overtly spooky book, but I think it'll have those like fun mad science-y vibes, and I'm so anticipating this. Next up, I have The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. This is a beautiful copy I found from my local bookstore for $3, which is wild. It's got this cool little key cutout thing when you open it, and there's this portrait on the other side. I love details like that in a book, so I'm already so excited because this book is beautiful, but it also sounds so creepy. And again, I'm just gonna read the inside because it's rather short, and again, it gives me the chills when I read it. So it says, newly married, newly widowed, Elsie is sent to see out her pregnancy at her late husband's crumbling country estate, The Bridge. With her new servants resentful and the local villagers actively hostile, Elsie has only her husband's awkward cousin for company, or so she thinks, for inside her new home is a locked room, and beyond its door lies a 200-year-old diary hinting at the house's dark past and a deeply unsettling painted wooden figure, a silent companion, that bears a striking resemblance to Elsie herself. Ah! That sounds so creepy. And I've said it before, but I love sort of the gothic atmosphere. That's my favorite type of creepy book to read, and this sounds full of it. We've got the creepy crumbling estate, we've got the creepy doll, and a creepy diary, and a widowed woman, and I'm so looking forward to this. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but it seems like the perfect October read, so I'm hoping it's good because it sounds very promising. This book I've had on my shelf for months, and I'm so excited to get to it. For the entirety of what she has published for her other series, the Wayward Children series, and that is Shauna Maguire's Middle Game. This book, I believe, has more to do with, like, alchemy, which is really interesting. I haven't really read a whole lot about that beyond, like, Full Metal Alchemist, so I'm really excited to see sort of, like, a creepier take on it. Not that Full Metal Alchemist isn't creepy, it definitely has its creepy moments, but this seems interesting. It has to do with these two siblings, Roger and Dodger, they're twins, and I believe they were, like, created by an alchemist. Roger is really skilled with words, languages. He instinctively understands how the world works through the power of story, while Dodger is more masterful over numbers. They're her world. All she understands, she does so through the power of math. And they're not exactly human. I believe they're sort of posed to be, like, gods later, and I don't know, I have no idea what to expect, but the alchemist that created them is like their father figure, kind of. I don't know. Again, I have no idea what to expect. The last line in the summary on the flap says, "Godhood is attainable. Pray it isn't attained," which sounds ominous as hell. So, very excited to get to this. I have loved everything I've read by Shauna Maguire so far. I think she has beautiful prose and such a way of developing a story. I don't know, it's She really has mastered the beautiful and the tragic, and I'm pretty much expecting more of that out of this, and I'm really excited. I believe a sequel has been announced for this, and it also has 2 like spin-off stories. I believe they're more like children's books that are mentioned in this, so I'm hoping to pick those up at some point as well. But oh my god, I love that cover too. It's so creepy. I want like something like that to put on my shelves. That would be so cool. But yeah, so excited to get to this one. Next up, I have House of Holo by Crystal Sutherland. This is another sort of like portal fantasy, I think, kind of. It follows these 3 young girls who went missing as children, and they return a month later with no memory of what happened. And then their appearance has also sort of changed. Their blue eyes are now black, their dark hair is now white. As they grow older, odd, eerie occurrences seem to follow in their wake. And now when they're 17, one of the sisters goes missing again, and the 2 other ones have to figure out what happened to her. So I've heard this is really strange and dark, and I don't know, this cover is so beautiful. It definitely drew me in, so I'm hoping the story inside lives up to what the cover promises, because this is so like eerie and stunning, and I'm so excited to read this one, and I hope it has really good creepy vibes. Next up is a book my friend Stephanie lent me, and that is actually an ARC copy from like 2015 of The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This takes place in the Cruel Prince universe, but does not follow those main characters. It's sort of a separate story, and I don't really know much beyond that, other than that it has to do with Fae, and that there is a glass coffin in the woods where a boy has been sleeping for generations, and then one day he suddenly wakes up. So I don't really know what to expect from this, but I love Holly Black's writing, and I love her world building. I will always love Carden and Jude, but I'm very curious to see sort of what exists in the world beyond them. And yeah, I have very high hopes for this one, and I'm hoping it's Creepy Woods vibes, because I need all of that this month. Next up, I think we have one of the only dark academia books on my list for this month, which is surprising because I feel like that's really popular right now. But that is The Atlas 6 by Olive Blake. Olivie Blake? Is that her name? There's an IE, that's interesting. This has still like a competition element. It follows this thing called the Alexandrian Society, and 6 people are competing to be part of it. And I believe it has to do with magic, and it's like an initiation trial basically, and one person might die. I don't know. I've heard great things about this on TikTok. It's been much hyped, so I hope it lives up to it. It is a self-published book, which can be really hit or miss, but I've heard this is good. So I'm gonna put my faith in TikTok and read it this month, hopefully, and hopefully I like it. And I'm feeling a little ghosty, spooky, supernatural as well, so I'm hoping to read The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I've heard excellent things about this book. I believe this was a book of the month at one point. This is obviously not the book of the month edition. I think I found this discounted at Martin's for like $5, which was cool. And this is a sort of dual timeline ghost story. I think in like the 70s, or sorry, the 80s, is when one of these timelines takes place, and this woman named Dev, who wants to move to New York City, takes a job as a night clerk at the Sundown Motel, but something isn't right, something haunted and scary. And then 40 years later-ish, her niece, I think, Carly, goes to investigate what happened to her Aunt Viv, who mysteriously went missing back in the 80s. So she decides to move to that town and visit the motel, where she learns that nothing has changed since 1982. And she soon finds herself ensnared in the same mysteries that claimed her aunt. So I have heard this is like a ghost story, so I'm hoping it actually is. I feel like I picked up a lot of thrillers last year that promised to be paranormal thrillers, and they were like, haha, gotcha. It was like a Scooby-Doo situation, and it was like a real person posing as a supernatural thing. So I want ghosts, damn it. So I hope this has them. Please tell me if they don't, because I will be disappointed if I go into this and there are no paranormal elements. And finally, for this month, I feel like I've got so many books on this list. It's not gonna happen, but we'll see, is The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is a signed edition that I got at my local bookstore for like $10. I'm still kind of shocked about that. This was a great find. Actually, no, it was $4. I forgot about that. I don't know why it was $4. This is in perfect condition. Anyways, this is the sequel slash prequel to Practical Magic, which came out in the 90s. This came out, I think, in like 2017 or something like that, and it follows the aunts from Practical Magic. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. They're actually great aunts in the books, but they're a little bit more mysterious in the book version of Practical Magic, and so this is supposed to be their backstory. I am reading this series in publishing order because I've heard that's sort of the way to do it, even though each successive book takes place further and further back in time, I think. So I'm excited to read this one and see sort of how it's different from Practical Magic, maybe stylistically. While I enjoyed the story of Practical Magic, it was very like detached in its storytelling and its like narrating. So I'm hoping this feels a little bit more like connected to the characters. And yeah, I'm excited to learn the aunt's backstory. I think that'll be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I like it because it's a signed copy that I got for $4, and it'll be really tragic if I don't like it. So yeah, that's my October TBR. Sorry, I feel kind of winded after talking about all those books as fast as I can. Let me know down below, what are you planning to read this month? I would love to know and add them to my TBR because I just set unrealistic expectations for myself, apparently. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a great reading month. I'm so excited for all the mood reading and like atmospheric, creepy vibes. It's my favorite time of year for reading, truly. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and have a wonderful day. Bye.